start here, I wanted to mention a few things about the legality of collecting on both public and private lands. I collect, several hundred trees a year on public land, National Forest land, Bureau of Land Management land, State Forest land, and off of private land. And if you're going to collect, you need to make sure that it's legal, and you need to get permission so that you don't get yourself in trouble or ruin it for other collectors. Regulations vary from place to place. In a lot of National Forest lands, you can buy tree permits. Here's some transplant permits right here. You have to have a permit for each tree, and you attach it around the stem of the tree before you can load it into your vehicle or whatever you're going to use to move the tree from its location. Here's some other permits I've got. These are permits from Bureau of Land Management lands. This is a permit to collect deadwood, and then I also have some transplant permits for collecting trees here. These ones you attach one permit to a load, and it's marked on here how many items you're allowed to have into the load. So there's various ways to do it, but the main thing is that regulations vary from place to place, and you really need to know to check into the situation and see if it's legal or not. In a lot of places you'll find near campgrounds, near hiking trails, in wilderness areas, in wildlife preserves, in any kind of state park or national monument, collecting is not going to be legal, and really you do not want to be in there trying to remove plants. When you have other areas, public lands like national forests that are managed more for resource development, in many cases in those areas collecting will be legal, but you need to check the regulations. Now when you're going to collect on a rock outcrop, rather than using a shovel, you're basically going to use a crowbar or a pry bar to pry the tree and free it from its environment. So we use a large crowbar like this, and we have some that are even bigger, and we do a lot of the work actually with a really small crowbar like this, with the end sharpened so it can cut through roots, and we use a mallet here, a 24-ounce hammer, to be able to drive that in there and free up the roots. I also make a pretty frequent use of a good pruning saw. I must go through about a half dozen of these a year at least to remove branches and to cut roots that I can't cut with this. If you have a big root, you don't really want to spend a lot of time banging on it and possibly breaking it up. Cutting it is much more easier on the tree. And then of course I use a pair of pruners, just a pair of bypass pruners here. Those are indispensable. And I also like to use just a knife. This is basically a kitchen knife almost, and it's got a blade that's it's pretty stiff, but it's real thin. It's a little bit flexible, and I find that when I'm trying to explore around root systems, you can use this knife to kind of pry around there, and it'll get in there and help you free up the root system from the rock. And then of course I always take a big pack frame with me to get stuff back to my vehicle. Sometimes you may be quite a long way from your truck or whatever you're using by the time you find a tree, and it's just not practical to carry them. Especially if you have a big tree like that, you really want a pack frame to haul the thing out.